The silent exit, the great chamber of the Galactic Council, was filled with light and voices. Stars shone through the massive glass ceiling, and banners of 100 species hung from the walls. Representatives sat in a circle of power, their voices sharp and cold as they debated the fate of one world Earth. Humans stood in the center of the hall, silent. They had spoken enough, pleaded enough, and argued enough. Now they waited for the council's decision. One counselor, a tall reptilian, with golden scales, hissed loudly. Humanity is too small, too reckless. They disrupt our order with their endless demands. Another, a being made of flowing mist, agreed. Yes, they are better gone. Let them leave our alliance. Let them fade into history. The humans did not reply. Their faces showed nothing, though their eyes burned with quiet fire. Only one voice in the chamber tried to defend them. A gray-furred elder leaned forward. "You do not understand," he said, his tone heavy with warning. "Humans are dangerous, not because of their numbers, but because of their will. If we let them go, we may regret it." The chamber filled with laughter. The reptilian slammed his claw on the table. "Regret? They are a primitive race. Their ships are weak. Their armies are small. If they wish to leave, let them vanish into silence. We will not waste time on them." The council voted. One by one, the lights turned red or green across the circle. The majority was clear. Humanity was free to leave. No war, no chains, just exile wrapped in arrogance. The lead counselor spoke with finality. "Earth may depart. The council will not interfere. Let them walk into silence." The hall erupted with noise. Some clapped their claws, some hissed, some laughed. Only the humans remained still. At last, the human envoy stepped forward. His uniform was plain, his voice calm. "So be it," he said. "You will not hear from us again." He turned and walked away, every step echoing in the chamber. The other humans followed, leaving without protest, without threat, without sound. Silence they left behind was heavier than any shout. When the doors closed, the reptilian counselor chuckled. "It is finished. Humanity is no longer our concern." The mist being added, "In a few years, they will be forgotten, like dust between the stars." But the gray-furred elder did not laugh. He stared at the doors where the humans had vanished. His heart was heavy, his eyes troubled. He whispered words no one cared to hear. "They will not be forgotten. They will remember this day, and one day so will we." Outside the council, the humans boarded their ship. They did not speak of anger or revenge. They spoke of preparation. The envoy looked at his people, his voice steady and cold. "They think we are weak. They think silence means surrender, but silence is only the beginning. Let them laugh. One day they will choke on that laughter." The ship's engines flared, and Earth's delegation left the capital world. Behind them, the Galactic Council returned to its endless arguments, blind to the storm they had unleashed. For the Council, it was a victory. For humanity, it was a vow that the galaxy would one day regret. The forgotten world years passed. After the Council's decision, for the galaxy, life moved on. Trade routes stayed busy, colonies grew richer, and wars between smaller species kept the Council distracted. In the middle of all this noise, Earth faded from memory. Most counselors no longer even spoke the name human. When reports mentioned Earth, they were dismissed as irrelevant, primitive, isolated, unimportant, the words repeated like a prayer. The arrogance of the Council was strong enough to make them believe their own lies. In markets and academies. Across the stars, humans became little more than a joke. Stories painted them as hot-headed, fragile creatures who broke under pressure. Scholars compared them to a candle in the wind burning bright but gone quickly. Soldiers laughed about the day humanity walked away in silence. But silence has many meanings. On Earth, the quiet was different. It was not surrender. It was not weakness. It was focus. The humans returned home with cold determination. They built walls where there were none, factories where there were fields, and fleets where there had only been dreams. Their people remembered the Council's laughter. That memory became fuel. In secret, human colonies on distant rocks vanished from the Council's records. Ships disappeared into dark space, carrying settlers, engineers, and weapons. Earth's skies filled with training fleets, and underground labs tested machines the Council had never imagined. At first, the Council ignored small warnings. A scout ship entered human territory and never returned. The commander who raised the concern was mocked. Lost to an asteroid, they laughed. Or perhaps they sold the ship for drink. Then a trader reported strange activity, large human fleets drilling in silence on the edge of known space. The Council dismissed it as paranoia. And colonies near the human border stopped sending regular messages. Technical failures, the reports claimed. Storms, pirates, nothing more. But whispers began to spread. Soldiers on frontier posts spoke of seeing shadows in the stars, huge ships gliding without lights. Miners swore they heard strange signals, human voices laughing in the static. Captains told stories of being followed by invisible hunters. The Council denied everything. Humans are weak, they repeated. They walked away. They will never return. But deep in their hearts, some counselors began to feel uneasy. The gray-furred elder who had once warned them still sat in the chamber. His eyes grew heavier. Each year, he listened to the laughter, the dismissals, the endless arrogance. But he remembered the silence of the humans when they left, the way they had spoken no threats, the way they had walked away without a word. That silence haunted him. One night, as he left the chamber, he whispered to a young aide, "Silence is not peace. Silence is preparation." The aide frowned. But if they were preparing, why have they not acted? The elder looked up at the stars, his voice soft and troubled. Because they are waiting for the moment we least expect. And then the galaxy will remember Earth. Across the dark of space, inside hidden shipyards, humans worked without pause. They did not boast. They did not announce. They built. And with every hammer strike, every engine test, every scarred starship rising from the void, they remembered the words of the Council. Let them walk into silence. That silence was almost over. The first signs of fire it began with. Smoke on the edges of the map. The first report came from a small mining station near the human border. The station had gone dark for 3 days. When a patrol ship finally arrived, all they found was wreckage drifting in silence. The station's walls were torn apart, its defenses ripped open like paper. The patrol captain sent his report to the Council. Unknown attackers. Efficiency suggests military strike. The Council laughed. Pirates, they said. Nothing more. But pirates did not leave messages. Burned into the metal walls of the ruined station were 4 words in crude, harsh letters. You should have listened. The second report came a month later. A convoy of supply ships was ambushed. Survivors swore the attackers were human. Their ships looked scarred, patched, and monstrous, yet they fought with brutal precision. One witness, his voice shaking, said, "They didn't act like soldiers. They acted like predators." Again, the Council dismissed it. Stories. Fear makes the mind see humans where there are none. But the stories did not stop. On the frontier, colonies whispered of fast-moving fleets that came out of nowhere. Stations that refused to pay respect to humans found themselves cut off comms. Jammed, defenses hacked, supplies stolen. Every attack left the same chilling mark. A message carved, painted, or broadcast in broken code, "You should never have let us go." Council chambers grew restless. Some demanded answers. Others demanded silence. The reptilian counselor, always loud, shouted, "It is lies. Humans are too weak for this. These are bandits pretending to be them." But the gray-furred elder only shook his head. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the chamber. "No, this is the silence breaking. The fire is coming." Far away, in a hidden human fleet, engines roared. Warships rose from shipyards. Built in secret, scarred and armed with weapons stolen and remade. Their crews were not dressed like polished soldiers. They wore patched uniforms, carried weapons with marks of old battles, and their eyes burned with hunger. They remembered the Council's arrogance. They remembered the day they were dismissed, laughed at, ignored. And now they were ready to remind the galaxy what silence had been hiding. The first real strike came without warning, not an entire outpost. 3 defense platforms and 2 colonies. Wiped clean in a single night. No distress call, no survivors, only wreckage left to drift. The only signal received was a short burst of static before it ended. When decoded, the static formed human words. "We are not gone." The Council could not ignore it any longer. Emergency meetings filled the chamber. Anger, fear, and denial clashed together. One shouted, "They are attacking our borders." Another growled, "They will pay for this insolence." The elder said nothing. He only watched the stars on the map, spreading like cracks across glass. Because he understood what the others did not. These were not random attacks. They were warnings. The first sparks of fire dot, and once fire begins, it spreads. Shadows over the council. The council chamber no longer rang with laughter. The air was heavy, filled with whispers and fear. The attacks on the frontier were no longer isolated. They were spreading, like cracks in glass dot reports flooded in. Stations destroyed, convoys missing, colonies refusing to answer the council's calls. Each report carried the same chilling detail. Human ships seen in the void scarred, patched, bristling with weapons that should not have existed. But worst of all, the humans did not hide. For the first time in years, they appeared openly. A fleet of blackened starships drifted over a council colony, silent and waiting. They did not fire. They did not demand. They simply watched. The colony panicked. Citizens locked themselves indoors. Leaders begged for help. Soldiers refused to leave their barracks. When the human ships finally vanished into the dark, they left behind a single transmission. "We remember." The words shook the council more than any weapon. Inside the chamber, arguments turned to shouting. One counselor cried, "We must negotiate." Another roared, "No, crush them before they grow stronger." A third whispered, "It may already be too late." The reptilian counselor slammed his claw against the table. "They are only humans. We let them walk away once we can make them crawl this time." But his voice no longer carried confidence. It carried fear. The gray-furred elder rose slowly. His voice was soft, but everyone heard it. "We did not let them walk away. We pushed them. We laughed as they left. And now the shadows over our worlds are the price of that arrogance." Silence followed. For the first time, none could laugh at his warning. Outside the chamber, the galaxy felt the change. Merchants whispered that human fleets moved like hunters, striking with precision. Soldiers spread rumors of enemy ships that fought like demons, each scarred hull carrying trophies of past battles. Civilians spoke of human voices, echoing in the static of com signals, laughing in the dark. Fear was spreading faster than war dot. The humans knew it. They had learned that fear was stronger than weapons, and so they made the galaxy watch. There, fleets appeared above worlds, never firing, never speaking. only letting their presence crush the hearts of millions. A council intelligence officer brought evidence to the chamber. Recordings of human ships bristling with stolen technology, plasma cannons, energy shields, missile racks adapted and twisted into something new. They are not just building ships, the officer said, trembling. They are building nightmares. Still, the council hesitated. Pride chained them. Arrogance blinded them. They could not admit they had been wrong, but in quiet halls, some counselors whispered the truth. We should never have let them leave. We should never have left. And far away, in the cold black of space, the human fleets gathered. Crews. Sharpened blades, loaded weapons, and painted new scars on their hulls. Their eyes were hungry, their voices calm. One captain stood on the bridge of a scarred warship and looked at the stars. We do not need to strike yet, he said. Let them fear the shadows. Fear will break them before we do. And so the humans waited, their fleets hanging like wolves at the edge of the forest, watching the prey grow weaker. The council thought the silence was mercy. They did not yet understand. It was the hunt. The human return today began like any other inside the council's heart world. Shuttles filled the skies, trade ships landed at glittering ports, and soldiers patrolled streets without concern. Life moved forward, as if the empire had no shadow pressing down on it. Then the shadow came. At first, it was only a ripple in the sky, a disturbance in the scanners. Then the alarm screamed. Space above the capital world split open as fleets emerged from the void. Human fleets. They came not as merchants or envoys, but as predators. Hundreds of scarred ships drifted into orbit, their hulls blackened, their weapons bristling with stolen and remade technology. They did not hide their presence. They wanted to be seen, not panic, spread instantly. Civilians fled into shelters. Military stations scrambled fighters, but none dared to fire. The humans did not attack. They simply held their orbit, their ships, arranged like teeth in a predator's grin. Inside the council chamber, chaos erupted. They dare to appear here? One counselor shouted, "They want us to panic." Another screamed, "Then what are we waiting for? Attack." But no one moved. No one gave the order. Then the humans opened a channel. The image of a human commander filled the chamber. He was tall, scarred, his eyes cold as steel. His voice was calm, but every word struck like a blade. "You thought silence meant weakness," he said. "You thought letting us leave was an end. It was only the beginning." The chamber froze. Every counselor felt their chest tighten. The commander leaned closer, his voice sharper. "We asked for respect. You gave us laughter. Now we have returned, and the stars will remember your arrogance." The signal cut. Silence remained, heavier than the fear that filled every heart. In orbit, the human ships drifted closer. There, engines glowing like the eyes of predators ready to strike. Yet they did not fire. They waited. The council argued without end. Some shouted for negotiation. Others demanded war. But all of them trembled because they knew the truth. Humanity had grown stronger, faster, and far more dangerous than before. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every colony, every soldier, every trader learned that humans had returned, not as allies, but as hunters. On distant worlds, people whispered the same words. The silence is over. In the streets of the capital, ordinary citizens looked to the sky. The black ships hung there like storm clouds, waiting to unleash fire. Mothers held their children close, elders whispered prayers, and soldiers gripped their weapons with shaking hands. But the humans only watched. Inside their scarred ships, crews prepared with quiet discipline. They sharpened their blades, checked their weapons, and laughed among themselves. To them, this was not war. This was justice. One officer asked the human commander, "Why don't we strike now? Their world is in our grasp. The commander smiled. Because fear is a better weapon than fire, let them taste it. Let them choke on it. When we strike, they will already be broken. And so the humans waited, their fleets a silent storm hanging above the council's proudest world. Below, inside the chamber, the gray-furred elder finally spoke. His voice trembled, but his words were clear. We thought we ended them when we let them walk away. But we only gave them time. Time to prepare. Time to sharpen their teeth. And now the hunters have returned. The chamber fell silent. Number. One laughed this time. No one dared dot above them. The human ships moved into new formation, their weapons glowing, their scars shining under the starlight. The galaxy understood at last. Humanity had returned, and they had come not for peace, but for vengeance. The breaking point, the Council's heart world, had never known true silence before. But now, with human fleets circling above, every street, every chamber, every hall carried the weight of fear. The people dared not speak too loudly, as if their words might bring fire from the sky. The council itself was falling apart. Some shouted for negotiation. Send envoys. Promise them anything. We can still make peace. Others roared for war. No. If we bow now, the galaxy will see weakness. We must strike before they strike us. But no one moved, because no one truly believed victory was possible. The humans had done more than appear. They had stolen the Council's greatest strength. Unity. The breaking point came in fire. On the third night of the standoff, human fleets finally moved. Not against the capital, but against the pride of the Empire. Outlying fortresses, massive defense stations built over centuries, were destroyed in hours. One fortress fell without a fight. Its soldiers refused to fire. Its commanders refused to give orders. When human ships arrived, the station simply opened. Its gates. The humans walked in, left their mark. We remember, and departed. Another fortress tried to resist. For 6 hours, its guns blazed. Then the humans turned the fortress's own weapons back upon it. Flames lit the void, and the defenders were gone. News spread faster than light. The invincible fortresses were gone. The Empire's backbone was broken. Inside the council chamber, chaos erupted. Councilors screamed at one another, blaming, accusing, threatening. Some demanded surrender. Others demanded execution of those who suggested it. The reptilian councilor slammed his clawed hand on the table. We cannot give in. Humanity is only one world, one species. We are thousands. Crush them before they spread. But his words carried no strength. Even he knew it. The gray-furred elder rose, his voice shaking. We let them walk away once. We thought silence meant weakness. But silence was their weapon. And now their vengeance is at our gates. Still, the others argued. Still, they wasted precious time. Meanwhile, above their worlds, humanity struck again. This time, it was not just fortresses. It was fleets. Entire armadas, thousands of ships sent to stop the humans. But the humans did not fight with numbers. They fought with madness. They split into unpredictable patterns. They turned captured weapons against their owners. They used chaos as strategy, laughter as war cries. For every ship destroyed, 3 more fell into panic. Formations collapsed. Commanders broke. Armadas that should have crushed the humans dissolved into debris. The breaking point was no longer coming. It had arrived. Across the galaxy, soldiers refused to fight. Colonies refused to send aid. Civilian ships refused to move near Council. Space, the Empire's power, built over centuries, was crumbling in weeks. And always, the same message appeared. You should never have let us go. In the streets of the capital, riots began. Citizens shouted at their leaders. Why did you let them leave? Why did you mock them? Now they return to punish us all. The council called for order, but order was already gone. Fear ruled now above. Inside his scarred flagship, the human commander watched it unfold. His eyes were calm, his voice quiet. They are breaking. We do not need to destroy them all. They will destroy themselves. His officers laughed, nodding. One woman sharpened her blade against steel and grinned. Shall we finish it? The commander's smile was cold. Not yet. Let them choke on their fear. Let them drown in their regret. When the time is right, we will end it. And so, the galaxy reached its breaking point. The empire that once ruled the stars now stood on its knees, trembling before the silence it had mocked. But humanity was not finished. The end was still to come. Endless regret. The chamber of the Galactic Council was almost empty now. Where once? 100 voices had filled the room with pride and arrogance. Only a few remained, tired, broken, and defeated. The great banners of the Empire still hung from the walls, but even they looked like faded ghosts, reminders of a power that no longer existed. Outside, the skies above the capital burned. Human fleets drifted in the void, their scarred hulls glowing in the light of ruined ships. They did not rush to destroy the world. They simply waited, letting the weight of fear press down on every living soul. The surviving counselors sat in silence. No one dared to speak of victory. No one dared to speak of hope. Finally, the gray-furred elder rose. His voice trembled, but his words cut through the heavy air. We laughed when they asked for respect. We mocked when they walked away. And now, look around you. Worlds burned, fleets broken, people turning against us. This is our punishment. This is our regret. The reptilian counselor, once loud and proud, now slumped in his seat. His golden scales had dulled with age and fear. His voice was hollow. We thought letting them leave was nothing. We thought silence meant they were finished. Instead, it was the beginning of our end. Another counselor whispered, "Can we still beg for peace?" The elder shook his head. "You cannot beg peace from hunters. You can only hope they have eaten enough." Above them, the humans finally spoke. A transmission filled the chamber. The human commander appeared, his face scarred, his eyes colder. Then steel. His voice was calm, steady, merciless. "You let us walk away. You thought it was victory. But silence was never surrender. It was preparation. We do not want your counsel. We do not want your alliance. We want you to remember this." He leaned closer, his voice sharp as a blade. "Humanity asked for respect. You gave us laughter. Now you drown in regret." The transmission ended. Silence returned. Outside, the human fleets moved, not with pace, but with certainty. One by one, the last defense stations around the capital fell. The skies filled with fire. The Empire's proud heart crumbled into ash dot, and still the humans did not cheer. They did not sing. They did not claim the throne. They simply left their mark messages burned into steel, scars cut into stone. A warning to the galaxy. Never again underestimate Earth. The galaxy would never forget Dot's stories spread across the stars. Merchants whispered of the humans' return. Soldiers told tales of scarred ships and laughing crews. Children on distant. Worlds were taught to fear the silence, because silence meant humans were preparing. The Empire was gone, but the regret remained. Endless, heavy, unshakable Dot in the ruins of the council chamber. The elder sat alone, staring at the broken banners. His voice was only a whisper now, a prayer no one heard. We thought silence was the end, but silence was the beginning. And now we drown in the regret we earned. Far away, inside their monstrous ships, the humans sharpened their blades, repaired their engines, and looked to the stars. Their silence had ended, but their hunger had not. The galaxy belonged to them now, and the council's regret would echo forever.